Karl Brandt, Adolf Hitler's personal physician. He was born on 8th January 1904 in Mülhausen, German Empire. His father was a Prussian Army officer. He became a medical doctor and surgeon in 1928, specializing in head and spinal injuries. He joined the Nazi Party in January 1932, became a member of the SA Sturmabteilung in 1933. The SA was the original paramilitary wing of the Nazi Party, and later became a member of the SS Schutzstaffel in 1934 and was appointed to the officer rank of lieutenant. The SS was a major paramilitary organization under Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in Nazi Germany. In August 1933, Hitler's adjutant was injured in a car accident. Brandt, who was working as a doctor in Upper Bavaria, was summoned to help them. Adolf Hitler was so impressed with his work that Brandt was invited to become one of Hitler's personal physicians. And by 1934, he became Hitler's escort physician. Hitler's personal doctor was Theodor Morrell. Brandt was highly suspicious about the medicine that Morrell prescribed for Hitler. Brandt warned Hitler he was in danger of being poisoned by these large dosages of drugs and vitamins. Hitler rejected Brandt's advice and replied, "No one has ever told me exactly what is wrong with me. Morrell's method of treatment is so logical that I have the greatest confidence in him." Though criticized by Brandt and other physicians, Hitler would not hear any criticism of Morrell. Brandt was successful in winning Hitler's trust and became a member of Hitler's inner circle. At Berchtesgaden, where Hitler maintained his private residence, known as the Berghof. As a member of this inner circle, Brandt had a residence near Berghof and spent much time there when Hitler was present. In 1933, the Nazi law for the prevention of hereditarily diseased offspring was implemented. Brandt was one of the medical scientists who performed forced abortions on a large number of women deemed genetically disordered, mentally or physically handicapped, or racially deficient. These abortions had been legalized as long as no healthy Aryan fetuses were aborted. On March 17, 1934, Karl Brandt married champion swimmer Annie Reborn. They had one son, Karl Adolf Brandt. Adolf Hitler ordered the euthanasia program in 1939. The Action T4 euthanasia program was systematic killing of aged, disabled, mentally ill and physically handicapped children and adults by gas or lethal injection who were considered unfit to live. On 1 September 1939, Brandt was appointed by Hitler co-head of the Action T4 euthanasia program with Philip Bohler. Between October 1939 and August 1941, killed over 70,000 people. The Nazis referred to the T4 victims as burdensome lives and useless eaters. Brandt believed that the health of society as a whole should take priority over the health of its individual members. Because society was seen as an organism that had to be cured, its weakest, most invalid and incurable members were the only parts that should be removed. Such merciless creatures should be given a merciful death. Brandt also carried out brutal medical experiments on the Nazi concentration camps prisoners, such as enforced sterilization program, freezing, poison gas, typhus experiments. Over a period of 2 years, thousands of men, women and children were mercilessly killed and several others were subjected to cruel medical experiments. On 28 July 1942, he was appointed Commissioner of Sanitation and Health by Hitler and was thereafter bound by Führer's instructions. Brandt was promoted to major and later was given the rank of a brigadier general in the Waffen-SS. By early 1945, Nazi Germany had collapsed. Both the Red Army and the Western Allies forces were advancing into Germany. Before the end of the war, Brandt had moved his wife Annie and son out of Berlin and towards the Allied lines. He did so in the hope of avoiding capture by the Russians. Despite Brandt's closeness to Hitler, Hitler was furious when he learned that Brandt had sent his wife and their son towards the Allied lines and ordered Brandt to be charged with treason. He was arrested by the Gestapo and was convicted and sentenced to death by a Berlin court. Brandt survived when Himmler and Speer intervened and delayed the execution. The Red Army and Allies forces were advancing into Germany. On April 30, 1945, a Soviet Red Army were within a block or two of the Reich Chancellery. Hitler committed suicide by shooting himself in the head. After Adolf Hitler's suicide on 30 April 1945, Admiral Karl Brandt succeeded Adolf Hitler as head of the state in May 1945. Brandt was released on 2 May 1945 by order of Karl Brandt. Nazi Germany surrendered unconditionally to the Allied forces on May 7. Brandt was placed under arrest by the British on May 23, 1945. He was tried along with 22 others in a doctor's trial in Nuremberg. He tried to defend himself against the allegations. He said, "I was following orders." At his trial, Brandt's explanation for his criminal actions, especially ordering experimentation on human beings, was that any personal code of conduct must give way to the overall character of the war. When asked about medical experiments on human beings by the judge, would an order which authorized or directed a subordinate medical officer to select subjects involuntarily and subject them to experiments, the execution of which that officer knew, would likely result in the death of the subject, would such an order be reasonable? Brandt said, if Himmler ordered doctor to conduct a certain experiment, it is quite possible that doctor might be unwilling to carry out such an order. If he refused, he would surely have been called to account for his failure. In such a case, here the authoritarian character of our system of government must be taken into account. Any personal code of ethics must give way to the total character of war. His arguments were not accepted. He was convicted of war crimes and membership in a criminal organization and was sentenced to death along with 6 other doctors. Before the execution, Brandt offered his body for medical research. The offer was refused. While on the gallows, Brandt said, "It is no shame to stand up on the scaffold. This is nothing but political revenge. I have served my fatherland as others before me." He refused to finish his speech, so as he continued to speak, a hood was placed over his head and he was hanged. Karl Brandt was hanged on 2 June 1948 at Landsberg prison at the age of 44. Our channel, The Past Quest. We only post videos about history. Subscribe the channel and support us. Thank you for watching.